And good morning from sunny Melbourne, where we're in lockdown period at the moment. There are some little bits of sunshine peering through the clouds, and we've got some special guests on today. But before I do that, let's just introduce ourselves. And first, I'd like to introduce to you Simon. Now, Simon.
Good morning, Tony. How are you, my friend?
Pretty good. Hang on, I don't know. That's okay.
You opened up by saying it was obviously sunny where you're in Melbourne. I'm looking out the window and it's pouring rain where I am. However, the beauty is that it's Friday and we make every post a winner, don't we, Tony?
We certainly do. There's never a dull moment on Let's Chat.
No, absolutely. Well, for those that don't know me, my name is Simon Bowden and I'm an international marketing business coach. I'm also a master coach, which means that I've coached in excess of 10,000 hours. And as you know, Tony, it's probably up around the 25,000 hours. So makes me feel old. Anyway, my aim is to look, I'm still very young, exactly. My aim is to look at each business and identify what's working and what's not working. I throw out what's not working and I replace it with strategies that do work. And as a result, I can achieve at least a double or triple your revenue in a 3 to 6 month period. And I'm passionate about what I do and I'm passionate about helping people succeed. So that's me, Tony. So over to you, my friend.
And I better tell you what I do. Well-being, my business. And I help owners with customized retreats, workshops, consultation to maximize their feelings and vibrance for happiness, health, and success. Now, let me just read our mission, what we're trying to do today. Our mission, should we accept, is to educate and engage with our audience with lively discussions with experts to gain their valuable experiences, tips and benefits of the business and well-being practices they can offer. Now, Simon, would you please introduce to us our special guest today?
We have a wonderful guest this morning, and it is none other than the outrageous and beautiful Maini Homer from the lovely Sunshine Coast, and I bet you it is sunshine in where you are at the moment too. So no. I'm going to read Maini's bio. So Maini is the queen of content creation and has been in business for herself for over 23 years. In that time, Maini has built 13 successful businesses from scratch, and we'll ask her about that a little bit later. And usually with no money down. An interesting take. Another awesome feat in her #1 international best-selling book in 3 countries in 3 categories. Lockdown took my income. This book was written in under 24 hours at the start of the pandemic and is a 9-step blueprint to create your own income stream from scratch. So very interesting. Maini's latest venture, Copywriters International, was born in October last year after recording a video series, creating an income from scratch. She did this to prove that the steps in her book really did work when you followed them. And the rest is history. 7 months on, Maini has 16 staff working for her, and she's staring down a total financial and time freedom. Already she's decided what her next adventure will be, and I'm sure if it's something to do with Maini, it will be exciting. Welcome, Maini.
Thank you so much for having me, and I can tell you, Simon, that yeah, it is sunny up here, but don't hold that against me, okay? It's like, yeah.
Well, you know what I'm like. I love the sun, and yes. I must admit, it's when it's nice and sunny, we get out and go for a walk, and Naomi and I, and we walk around the lake and we have a great time. But we can't do it today because it is pouring rain. But anyway, so Maini,
Yes.
we've got a long and let's say a bio that's a very, very interesting bio. What I'd like to touch on firstly is, where did you come from? What's your background?
It's interesting you asked that. People are often surprised to find out that I come from a very poor background. We lived in housing commission. My father worked nights. My parents are very hard workers. They worked very hard. My father worked nights, and so that meant Mum had to take care of us three girls on her own. And look, she had her own issues. She did her best, but she had her own issues. So there was actually a lot of abuse, like physical, mental, and verbal. Some things were just off the charts, if you know what I mean. And so because my mum didn't have the skills that she needed to be able to teach us what we needed to know, we grew up with no self-confidence, no self-worth, very little self-esteem. And we weren't actually taught how to get along, if that makes sense. We weren't taught the rights and wrongs on, how to treat other people and how to fit into society, basically. So, the background, it comes from an area where, things were really, really tough right from the word go, because I didn't know how to be, basically.
Yeah, it can be really difficult. I would agree with that, and especially coming up. Did you have siblings and that type of thing as well?
Yes, I do. I have two sisters.
Two sisters. So it was the three of you in the family.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So getting through that, you obviously started your first business at a young age. What age were you, and what was the business that you started?
The first real business, there was a few little tickles when I was a teenager, like we talked about, Simon, but we won't go there. May not have been pointing in the right direction at that stage. So. But the first one I started was actually when I was just 24. I just recently lost my dad. He died of a heart attack, just fell over one day. And I bought a commercial cleaning franchise. It was a guaranteed income for 2 years of $2,000 a month. And this is 97, so that was quite good income back then. And, so I actually worked that with my first husband, and we kept our full-time jobs as well. So it was a 1 a.m. start. And we'd go and clean for 4 or 5 hours, come home, basically eat and shower, and then go to our day jobs.
So that must have put a lot of pressure on you.
It did, yeah. It was really, really tough. And, it was my goal to grow that business as fast as I could. So I worked for the government department. So, public service, it was easy to slip a day off a fortnight, Nobody really, let's face it. So I used to take that day and I used to go out prospecting. And I actually built the income of that business up from $2,000 a month to $8,000 a month within 3 months, just by going out and knocking on doors, basically.
Wow.
Yeah. So what was the reason, perhaps, if you don't mind me asking? You obviously had a full-time job and your husband had a full-time job at the time. What was the reason for getting that second job?
Look, I've always been one to put an extra effort into what I did, and I never felt like I was being recognised for my brilliance. I never felt that, I was utilised for the skills that I could be utilised for. I was passed over for promotions, and probably because I didn't fit in so well personally. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, yeah, no, I do know. Yeah. So how long did you have that business for?
That business I think we had for around about 8 or 9 months only. A bit of a tragic end on that one. Long story short, when my marriage ended, my husband took off with the one thing I needed to be able to keep the business running, and that was the car. Oh, and so I found myself in a situation where I was a 24-year-old single woman with cleaning contracts in the middle of the night in the middle of Brisbane City with no vehicle and no way of being able to do the jobs. And the rule of that franchise we bought was that if you couldn't service your contract within 48 hours, you lost them. So 48 hours later, knock on the door, keys please. That was it. And I had no choice but to give everything up. So
I'm curious to know is what did you do? How did you manage that situation where you didn't have a car? Did you just rely on public transport, or did you have taxis? How did you do it?
Well, I got some friends in for the first couple of nights to help me, but I wasn't able to pay them because we were in between income and my husband had cleared the bank account out. So I wasn't able to pay them. So, of course, they didn't stay on. And it was, I had to just put my hands up and say, I can't do this. I actually had to do that for that first business and say, look, this is too hard. And that's why 48 hours later, there was a knock on the door and it was like they took the keys to the contract and I was left with nothing. Even the ones I'd gone and got myself, they took it all.
Yeah. That would have been totally devastating at the time. So, you know, what did you do as a result of after they took the keys from you?
Well, I didn't really have a lot going on in my life at that time, Simon, because what I haven't shared with you is that after my father died suddenly, my family just exploded. And they decided that I was the evil one and they threw me out of the family. Yeah. So I was pretty much in the spot where I had absolutely no one and nothing. So I had lost my dad. I lost my family. My ex-husband had walked out. That wasn't such a bad thing, but and I felt like I'd lost every friend I had in the world. So I had to rebuild. At that stage, even at 24 years old, I had to rebuild. And it was not easy because I didn't have a job. All of a sudden, I'd left my government job by that stage because I'd had $8,000 a month coming in from the cleaning business. Do you know? I didn't have a business anymore. So I had to just, I had to reinvent myself right there and then. But I can remember there was this moment that I left Centrelink because that's how low I'd got to Centrelink. I'd actually gone in to get a $200 emergency card because I had absolutely nothing to buy food or anything.
Yes.
And I can actually remember that brief moment where I crossed the road and I could have stopped and just let a car hit me.
Oh, gosh. Wow.
Yeah, I reached that point. It was only a split second and I moved on and I rebuilt myself, but I can still recall that moment.
And that was the trigger to help you go forward. And what did you do can you tell us what the steps that you did to go forward in your life?
Yeah, well, the very first thing I did was went and got a job again.
Yep.
So I went to some temporary agencies and says, okay, here's what I have. Here's the skills I have. And I had a job within the next day because back then it was easy to get a job through temps. So I went into a call center of all places, like just take any work. Yep. And I saved money. I would go home every day and just be by myself, but I'd saved the money. And I decided at that stage that I was going to move to New Zealand. And the reason why that was is because I had nothing left in Australia. There was nothing here for me. I was born in New Zealand, and to me it was a way of escaping. It was going to be a brand new start. So that was my focus. And I think it's because I had that focus and I had that goal of, saving enough money to get the airfare, which wasn't cheap those days, and enough money to settle myself over there that it just took over, and I was just able to focus on that goal, regardless of what was going on out here, to actually get to the point where I got on that plane about a year later.
Yeah. So what did you like obviously moving to a different country, you arrive day one and you've got to start fresh. I mean, you were obviously still a young woman, in a place that you perhaps didn't know. And what did you do? Like, how did you start?
Well, I've done a little bit.
What do I do?
Yeah, I'd done a little bit of pre-work. So I had somewhere to live. I'd found a flatting situation with a couple of guys, and I'd made a friend who picked me up from the airport, which was helpful. However, you've got to understand that even though I had that focus and that drive, having lost everything in my life and everything I knew to be real, I was a complete mess. I was a write-off, emotionally. I just, like I burst into tears at the drop of a hat, And so people don't stick around people like that.
No.
They don't stay. They don't, they put up with it for so long and then they just make their excuses to disappear. And so every situation that I moved into that year, I think I moved 5 times that year. People couldn't cope with who I was because, you obviously bring your emotions with you. Yes. And because I was so broken, like even though I'd had that focus, nobody stuck with me. Plus also the fact that I used to sing Celine Dion at the top of my lungs to deal with everything might have had something to do with it. I mean, I can sing, guys. I can sing, but, it's like...
If I was boarding with you, I'd be trying to move out too, I think.
Absolutely. It was like full, but that's how I coped. I mean, at the end of the day, I could have taken up alcohol. I could have got into drugs, but, that's how that was my coping mechanism. And I mean, I can sing, guys. I can sing. You've heard me, Simon. You heard my ooh-ee, ooh-ah. Come on.
Oh, yes. Yes, I did.
Yeah.
So I guess, Maini, what was the main learning points that you learned from all this?
Look, to be honest with you, the lessons for that didn't come till a lot later because I was just doing my best just to get along and just to find my way. I mean, there's times I can remember I was with one temp agency in New Zealand, and the lady that ran the temp agency kind of took me under her wing a little bit. But she had me applying for a position. And one of the things that I came across on the form was putting down my next of kin.
Yes.
And I stopped because I actually didn't have anyone that I could put down on that form, And she sort of like came by and I was quite distressed at this stage. And she looked at where I was at on the form and she says, yeah, my name goes there. She says, my name goes there. Do you know? It was. And it was just finding those people, I think, was the lessons, was just finding the people that could help you up and help you. And my husband was the one. He was the very first person I came across in New Zealand, and I'd been there for 12 months. Yep. He's the very first person that actually listened. He was the very first person that actually gave a damn.
Yeah.
And, and together we built a life together. So I think the lesson there was that, even in the darkest times, you can always find those people that are there to help you.
Yeah, well, that's really profound, and it just would have shown how much resilience that you've had. Like you've been through hell, and you're still keep going. That shows you, you've got a lot of resilience. So, who do you think taught you that? Because you must have learned that from somebody.
Yeah, I think it's probably just with the childhood that I had. I mean, at the end of the day, even though, I mean, let's face it, kids are cruel, right? Kids are really cruel, And I can tell you some terrible, terrible things that happened to me when I was in school by other children where they were just mean. And you've got to get on. Even though it hurts you, you've got to get on with it and you've got to keep going. I mean, I can remember one incident in high school when the most popular girl in school actually came up and spoke to me. Like,
wow.
Oh my God, here she is. I can't remember what her name was, but, obviously that's not important anymore. But she came up and spoke to me and she was telling me, how much, she really liked me and she, really liked me to be like part of her group and like, join in. And I'm thinking all my Christmases have come at once, but it was just to distract me while her other friends smashed an egg in my hair.
One of the other things too is that you've been able to recover. Who was your teachers that helped you along the way to sort of get you to where you are now? Because I can see through your bio, you've got a wonderful bio. It's so impressive. I wish I had a bio like that.
Look, I mean, the very first self-help person I came across was Tony Robbins. Okay, I followed Tony Robbins since way back. He used to actually have a message board, believe it or not. We're talking back in the late 90s here. It was like a message board, and there was people on that message board that were all really positive and uplifting. And some of those people I'm actually still friends with today. All this time, I'm still friends with them today. Some of them have left us. Some of them have passed, unfortunately. But I think that was the starting point. I got his tapes all the way back when he had, Unleash the Power Within. And I listened to that. And I think that's what was my first step on the journey. It was a very long journey because back then, even though people would say to you, you've got to love yourself before others can love you, nobody taught you how. Nobody showed you how. And the information of finding out how to do it wasn't readily available like it is today. So, the journey took me a lot of years. And it was 2014 that I actually went to my very first Tony Robbins event live.
Yeah.
go and see the big man. It had been a dream for years. I'd even talked about like handcuffing myself to the building in San Diego until it came out, kind of thing, you know. And I would have done it too. So, I mean, you know me.
I know you would have.
But then in 2014, I set myself this goal of a hug and a photo.
Yeah.
And it's a long story, but I got it. It's on the wall. I've got it framed because I used that. I used that because that was not an easy thing to get. Do you know what I mean? It's not easy to get a photo with Tony Robbins. Trust me, it's not easy.
Right, you did well.
But in my mind is if I can achieve that, I can do anything.
Yep.
And it was that journey through that weekend that I think really started me on the path where, you know, well, look, if I can do that, then what's stopping me from doing this or doing that? Yeah. And I mean, even though the whole time I had a successful business, like, you know, I'd done some really wacky things along the way. It was self-sabotage and all kinds of things because I still didn't believe in me. But that was probably the turning point where I started to believe in myself, do you know, just ever so slightly.
Yeah. So that's good. Well, just one other, sorry, Simon. Just one other question for you. Tell me about the future now. What exciting things have you got on your board at the moment that you're going to do?
Well, the future is all shiny and bright, really. I mean, like, you know, I found this amazing group of people who are fun. They are exciting. They are like friendly. They are beautiful. They just accept me for who I am. In fact, they love me, love my craziness, which is awesome. And like along with them, I can see a very long future ahead. As far as the business goes, like, you know, I already have like 20 staff now. It's gone up since we spoke, since I wrote the bio, it's gone up. And every day I've got new people jumping into my boat saying, I need this, I need that. Can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? And my answer to that every time is absolutely. And then I'll work out how to do it later. But it's like, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's like, you know, I think I was on a phone call yesterday afternoon and someone will know who that was. And she said, can you do that? And I went, we can do anything. It's like,
I love your attitude.
You've got to. You've got to have the attitude where, you know, at the end of the day, there's nothing you can't do, right? So if you need to get help.
On that note, Maini.
Yes, Simon.
I'm really interested in perhaps some of the moments in your life that has actually shaped your life. Some of the moments that have actually happened. What are those? I mean, obviously meeting Tony Robbins has been one of those. Share with us perhaps some of the other moments that have actually shaped your life.
NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, was a huge thing for me, yes. 2017 was, you know, dragged into the room kicking and screaming because I did not want to be there. In fact, I thought the trainer was a complete idiot. And I will say I've done a full 180 on that. I'm back to thinking he's a complete idiot, but that's beside the point. At the end of the day, it had a massive impact on my life. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it was suddenly like, I can fix this. I can build my confidence. I can build my certainty. You really can, you know, fix those negative emotions and those limiting beliefs. And this is the thing, many people out there have exactly what I had. And they don't know that they can fix it. They don't know that there is a solution out there.
Yeah, I totally agree. I really do.
Yeah. So go on.
So what's been your biggest self-sabotage?
Oh, here's a nice one for you. You ready for this? So when I was pregnant with my son, I decided I didn't want to buy baby products. And that was pretty much the reason why I started a lot of my businesses. I decided I didn't want to pay for something. So I'd find a way to have it pay for itself, right? Yeah. And I discovered modern cloth nappies, the ones with the Velcros that do up and just, you know, like, so you get to use the cloth nappies, but you don't have to worry about the pins and all that, you know, garbage. And so I decided to import my own brand of them from China. So I did that. There was one guy, this is in New Zealand, there was one guy selling them in New Zealand. He was selling plain white nappies that were unbranded and boring. So I brought in colours and shapes and like crocodiles and like, you know, dinosaur ones. And I branded it My Baby. And it was a hugely successful business on Trade Me, which is New Zealand's version of eBay. To the point where after about 6 months, it was taking me an hour a day and I was pulling off 2 full-time wages in profit every week.
Wow.
So when you've got toddlers, when you've got young children around your feet and you're doing everything else, that's pretty good. So I never had to go down to the 1 wage. Do you know what I mean? I had 3 still coming in. It gave me the freedom to be able to go out and, attend everything at the kids, kindies and stuff like that. So I was never, without, the freedom to be able to do that. And an hour a day, it's pretty good. So it was a thriving business. It was just going, from strength to strength. And then one day, just this random lady at my child's preschool came running up to me, and like she was literally falling over herself to talk to me. And she was like, oh my gosh, you make my baby nappies, don't you? Oh my gosh, seriously, this is at the level she was at. And I'm sort of like stepping a little bit back, and she's going, oh, I put all 5 of my kids through your nappies. It's like they're just amazing. And I've told my friends and they've told their friends and everybody's buying your nappies. It's like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. Thank you. It's incredible. You've saved me so much money, and like really over the top, like full on. But what that actually did, instead of having, the normal reaction that people would have and be like, oh my, how amazing. Not this chickie. This chickie went into like, oh my God, what's going to happen if they find out I'm a fake and I'm a fraud? And then I just fluked it. Like, seriously. And I absolutely freaked out because my unconscious mind didn't want me getting that kind of attention because, what if they found out that I was a fake? And I drove home that day, Simon, half an hour drive, walked into the door and said to my husband, that's it. I'm over hormonal women. I'm selling the business.
Yeah.
I put it up for sale for 1/3 of its worth, and it sold within 24 hours.
Yeah. And you regret every day.
You do. I do. Because it's like even when they came and I showed them how to run it, and they piled all the stock up into their truck and they drove away, I'm like, what the hell did I do?
Exactly.
But it was too late. It was too late. It was done.
So what did you learn from that?
It was just another chunk in the wheel. I know that's not really the right words, but if you know what I mean, that was leading me to the NLP and the solution. Because even at that stage, Simon, I still didn't know how to fix it. I didn't know what was wrong. I hadn't become aware.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was just another one of those things that later on I could look back and go, do you know what? Okay, I can see why. I mean, let's face it, everything's happened for a higher purpose, right?
Yes.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, Tony, any questions, my friend?
I think we've just about done all our questions, and what I'd like to do now is to ask Maini, if there was any one message that you'd like to give to the audience, what would it be?
Just keep going. Just keep going. Just take one step, take the next step, take the next step, put yourself out there, take the action you need to take to get the result that you want. Just never quit. I mean, like, seriously, with what I've been through, if I can create magic, then why can't you? There's no reason why you can't do exactly what I've done. If you need to go and get skills and confidence and certainty, then go get them. Okay,
That's
just
right.
choose to go get them. If you Simon, if you wanted to go and bake a cake, if you want to learn how to make a cake, you'd go to a cooking class, right?
Yep.
Yeah, Tony, if you want to take great photos, you'd go to a photography class.
Correct.
Yeah.
Like, getting your confidence and your certainty is no harder than that. There's people out there that can help you. Like, there's an amazing coach right here in Simon that could help you to build that strength and build that mindset so that you can go and get what you want. Because if you don't, one day you're going to wake up at 90 years old and go, where's my life gone?
That's right.
Absolutely.
Okay. And Simon, what was your main takeaway today?
Well, look, I think for me, what really rang true for me was the fact that when you're sitting at rock bottom, there's always a solution. And I think in many, many cases, you've just got to ask for help. And if you know someone that you can ask for help, invariably what they're going to do is actually lead you on a new path. And that path is to success. So probably my message to people out there as a result of talking to Maini today is very much along the lines of, even though you hit rock bottom, don't throw in the towel, seriously, because look where Maini is what she's created for herself today. And, we're only talking, a few years later type thing. So it's amazing how quickly you can actually turn your life around and make a really positive go of it. So, congratulations, Maini. It's such an impressive, story, and I'm glad that you actually shared it with us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Simon. It's been amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you, Simon and Maini. My main takeaway is your resilience.
Yeah.
How you've gone through so many trials. And one of the things which I really enjoyed hearing from you is when you're at your lowest, you sung your way through it.
Yeah.
And just by singing, you're connecting to your heart.
Yes.
And that's what you did. You was able to connect to your heart, and that helped you get through. And your heart is your strongest and best organ. So congratulations for doing that. And you started honoring your spirit. You saw that you needed help, and you went and got it yourself. So that shows me that you're independent. You've got that independence, and you got that drive, and you went to Tony Robbins, and you sought out other people to help you along the way. And that's something that's really important. And just as Simon was saying, if you need help, put your hand up and ask for help.
Yep.
Don't be afraid to ask.
We just can't do it. I don't know why. We just can't do it. And it's good that there's plenty of people around who will help you. And it's unlikely people that'll help you too. Like Maini was saying that she met somebody who helped her just from the airport. And then she met her boyfriend and lover in New Zealand, right? The person who would actually listen to her. So that was good. That's a great message.
But even the lady at the Centrelink office, incredible.
There's a lot of kind people. Just got to look for them.
You do.
On that note, I think we're getting to the top of the hour, as one would say. Would like to thank Maini for coming on the show, and it was really inspiring what you said, and showed a lot of resilience and a lot of courage to come on and open up your heart to tell us how you managed that. So we really like to honour you for that.
Thank you.
We've got another Let's Chat. We did take a little bit of a break, Simon and myself. We had a bit of a break to recharge the batteries, but we've got a program for you now which will keep on going for the next couple of months. And we've got a really exciting guest coming on next one. His name is Bobby Temple, and he's a recruiter. He's a mobile recruiter, and he's got a great story to tell us. So stay with us, and we'd love you to come back and hear our stories at Let's Chat. So on that note, if you want to contact us, you know where we are. We'll send out some LinkedIn contacts, and if you want to contact Maini, come through us. So on that note, we'll say goodbye.
Goodbye, all.
Bye. Thanks for having me.
No worries.
Bye.
Fantastic.
Well done, everyone.
Yeah.